The Rams, Josh, have no first round pick, which I believe is a record. Like their last first round pick was Jared Goff, right? I mean, Sean McVay's won a Super Bowl. Never had a losing record. He's never had a first round pick. I mean, he's never had a first round pick that the Rams drafted while he was there on his roster, which is just wild. How do we see them going in this draft with their later round picks?
Well, I think their first pick is 104 overall, if I read that correctly. It's kind of hard to believe, so I'm kind of second guessing myself now, but I believe that's where they're going to pick. So you've got to take that, with the context here. I've got North Carolina offensive guard Joshua Ezeudu as a possible fit for the Rams there in the third round, because they lost Austin Corbett. They already needed to improve their offensive line. So you bring in a guy like that who, for that blocking scheme, they typically allow defenders to work uphill. They don't allow them to, flow downstream. So I think he would be a great fit for that blocking scheme moving forward. And then Alabama cornerback Jalen Armour Davis is a guy that I like quite a bit and think could be available there if they choose to go in that direction. They obviously lost Darius Williams in free agency.
Yeah, that's been kind of the – or no, go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is the 104 pick is listed as a special compensatory pick. Is that
Brad Holmes?
Is that the Brad Holmes pick?
Yeah.
So they would be picking number 142 overall as their compensatory pick, were it not for Brad Holmes, who was the amendment to the CBA where minority hiring leads to special compensatory picks. I mean, they would be starting with 1 4th-round pick, and that would be a compensatory pick. Before the compensatory picks were given out, they were starting at 175 overall. I mean, F those picks, bro. Like, unbelievable, Leslie.
Well, yeah, and what was funny is that during the Super Bowl that there was that stat where like the Rams, despite all of that, were like playing the or like had the most drafted players on their roster. So I think it's a layer of two things. It's a combination of two things, two layers. That Les Snead is really F them picks, like that's his philosophy as a GM, and also he and his staff and Sean McVay, they have a ton of confidence in the day 3 selections. They've drafted a bunch of not stars, but serviceable types that are ready to be complements to a Von Miller, to an Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham Jr. So, offensive line. I think edge rusher after losing out to the Bills in the Von Miller sweepstakes. Sam Williams from Ole Miss would make a lot of sense. They could stay local and pick Drake Jackson if he falls that far, who's kind of a raw but very talented edge rusher. So offensive or defensive line, especially on the edge, make the most sense. And it feels like the system, they can get quality play out of their cornerbacks. I mean, Darius Williams was not a high draft pick, and they got quality production out of him. So if they go corner, I think that would be fine. But it's always fun to not only look at the fact that the Rams have not made a first-round pick since 2016, but just looking back at their draft history, and you're seeing a lot of players that have become serviceable contributors on this roster that were 4th-rounders. Joe Noteboom, Brian Allen, the center, later pick. They've done a really good job, their scouting department, on day 3 of the draft.
I mean, Cooper Kupp was the 3rd. Well, I guess that's day 3 you're talking about. But yeah, look at, you can complain about the Rams strategy all you want, but the reality is that with those first round picks that they gave up, or with all those picks that they gave up, one, they won a Super Bowl, which, you just justify, the ends justify the means when you win the title. 2, like the guys they've gotten, like Jalen Ramsey's been a superstar. He was worth, you can't get Jalen Ramsey. Like you're trying to draft Jalen Ramsey with a first round pick. Mm-hmm. So to give up those picks to get him, I think has certainly been justified. And then Matthew Stafford, like Jared Goff wasn't it, and Stafford is. So I'm not trying to say that you don't want first round picks. I think they love first round picks, but I do believe that the Rams method of identifying elite level players and then giving up first round picks for those players while also being good enough in the middle rounds to bring in complementary players has worked out. And I think it sort of gets lost in the F those picks like shuffle, that what they're doing is not just like throwing caution to the wind and just lobbing draft picks everywhere. Like they're going after clear elite level players at the positions they're targeting.
And it's changed the whole NFL, I think, too. Like, just from what we've seen this offseason, I think that has been catalyzed by what Les Snead and Sean McVay have done by doing exactly what you just explained, Will. So it's kind of like, yes, we all want to copy the team that just won the Super Bowl, but they've been doing this for multiple years and have been right in the thick of things, been to another Super Bowl, always in the playoffs, winning the NFC West multiple times. I think that philosophy 5 years ago seemed preposterous and we were laughing at them, but now that they won a Super Bowl and they've been so good, like you mentioned, Sean McVay never having a losing season,
and they're probably going to be really good again in 2022.
Yeah,
like it's
absolutely.
going to take injuries or just some really bad luck for this team to be bad in 2022, I think.
Yeah, I think you need to look at the secondary too and the way that they've evaluated those positions. I mean, you lose Eric Weddle, you lose John Johnson III, and what have they done? They've gone and they got Taylor Rapp. They've gone and they got Jordan Fuller. They've replaced those guys. Terrell Burgess. You know, they've got good players in the secondary. You lose Troy Hill. You lose Darius Williams. Darius Williams was the one that came in for Troy Hill, and now they've got Robert Rochelle, who they drafted last year, that's probably going to step into a larger role. So, you know, what they've done in the secondary has been really impressive. And I think having that flexibility has allowed them to dole out the huge contracts like they have to Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald.
Yeah. And they've gotten lucky that NFL teams are obsessed with plucking offensive coaches from the Rams. And I mean, we've seen, I guess Brandon Staley got hired too, so I shouldn't say that. You know, like the Rams have been, Sean McVay has done a very good job of staff management. Wade Phillips was awesome, and then he decided he wanted to go in a slightly different direction. Brandon Staley was awesome, and then Raheem, you know, like, and that's important, right? Sean McVay is very good at hiring people and clearly delegating duties and working as a CEO type.